With the release of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, to say that it left an impression would be a massive understatement. As a matter of fact, this will most certainly go down in history as the Pokemon game that divided its fanbase. Many people love it and many don't. This is more or less the same side you see nowadays in the Pokemon community, as there will always be people from both sides at each other's throats. The sad thing is, this game has put a great portion of the fanbase in a state of fear, worrying about exactly what the future of this franchise will be. Personally speaking, I'm unfortunately one of those people that did not enjoy this game after playing it, if I am to compare it with the other Pokemon games I've played throughout all these years. I have my own fair share of issues with this game, but that's for another day. Whilst I most certainly got put in the same state of fear as many longtime fans, and was pretty bitter about this game being the entry point for Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch, I later on realized that I may have had it all wrong. That this is actually a step in the right direction. Why is that, you may ask? Well, let's find out, shall we? First things first, let's talk about the Let's Go game itself. In design, this is meant to be the tailor-made Pokemon game for children and Pokemon Go players that want to get into this franchise, but cannot because of the endless number of Pokemon and other forms of complications that exist. Now obviously that's fine and all, but another problem that people such as myself and the others saw in the game is the fact that this essentially was a product using mountains of assets from the Sun and Moon games, including the whole engine itself. With all the 3D models being the exact same and the majority of the move animations following suit as well for the particular Pokemon, many just considered it as an upscaled Pokemon game with comparatively low effort this time around. Now while I will most certainly admit that I do feel the same way about some of those points made by such fans, here's the thing, this was the right move to make. See, the anticipated Generation 8 is going to finally be revealed in the upcoming year. As of now, nobody knows what to expect from it. Everything surrounding it is a massive mystery. What the region and new Pokemon look like is one thing, but the question of how the gameplay itself will be, how the camera dynamics will work, the style presented, the engine, everything, it's all unknown. And that's a good thing, because if Let's Go by chance happen to use any of the hypothetically new assets, dynamics, bits, and so forth, wouldn't that mean that they're indirectly stealing the upcoming generation's thunder? Because if these new bits were used in Let's Go, we'd pretty much have that taste of what we know will be present in next year, and as a result, it'd negatively affect the magic and pretty much take away a lot of that freshness that we can come to expect in 2019. So in the grand scheme of things, them choosing to reuse all these assets, the engines, and everything else was, in my opinion, the right call. Because we know now that everything we're gonna get is fresh and entirely new, which therefore would make us all happy campers at the end of the day. So with all of that being said, you may ask, why even make this game in the first place? What else is there to gain by introducing Pokemon Let's Go as its own new series of games? Honestly, the potential long-term benefits are so great that looking back, I almost feel stupid for being so pessimistic and negative about these games. You see, ever since after Unova, Pokemon, to me at least, has been struggling with their generations by a decent margin, in the sense that they're always at this constant struggle of trying to make their actual mainline games in such a way that it doesn't end up being too uninviting or too hard to sink in for potential new consumers. So much so to the point where Pokemon X and Y was an absolute pushover. Heck, I intentionally made my Pokemon 15 levels lower than the Elite Four and still managed to run circles around them. The same case existed for me with Omega Ruby and even Pokemon Sun. Granted, whilst Ultra Moon definitely did provide a decent change of pace in terms of challenge, it was still somewhat inconsistent, as after you're done beating a super boss like Ultra Necrozma, the rest of the main game ends up being a breeze, and despite all the character focus and growth, how still stayed as a pushover. These forms of inconsistency have played a decent factor towards negatively affecting the enjoyment of such mainline games. It's not just that either, but the fact that each of those generations had to hold your hand every single step of the way, while it's justifiable, is still something that no longtime fan necessarily appreciated. Now granted, All of these problems could be fixed by Gamefreak through finally reintroducing a difficulty mode or giving their players more options towards avoiding such forms of hand-holding. But on the off chance that they choose to adamantly stick to their traditions like this, there is a higher chance that Gamefreak will most certainly be much less insecure when making the real deal and make it in the best way possible. Furthermore, they are achieving one very important thing that could do nothing but benefit this whole franchise for the foreseeable future: segmentation. With Let's Go being catered towards specifically children as well as the new entrants of the franchise, and with Generation 8 allegedly being catered towards a longtime veteran fans specifically, according to Ishihara himself, they could potentially get themselves out of the limbo that they seem to have been for throughout the last 2 generations. This means that we could get a better or slightly more mature storytelling. Now obviously that doesn't mean we'll be getting to see Rayquaza impale a human being anytime soon, but that still does not change the fact that we could finally get more stories that could follow the footsteps, or better yet, surpass the quality that was presented in Pokemon Black and White, which I will go on the record to say is the peak of Pokemon in terms of storytelling, lore, you name it. If you disagree with me, I will fight you right now. Come at me. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, don't get me wrong, X and Y as well as Sun and Moon did show decent bits of maturity in the story that they told. But once again, due to Gamefreak trying to balance things out, I'd say that they weren't told as best as they could have been, especially Pokemon X and Y. So yes, with these new forms of focus and proper direction that they seem to have gotten themselves into with such an action, I for one cannot wait to see what the future holds for the franchise that I sincerely love with all my heart and soul. I know that at the end of the day, everything I just said is based around assumptions and assumptions alone. I wish I could have actual evidence behind my claims to solidify them, but based on how things are, everything is still up in the air. Worst case scenario, everything I just said may not be what aligns with their thinking, and they could just go in the complete opposite direction, which would devastate longtime fans, myself included. It remains to be seen whether Pokemon will finally follow the footsteps of their peers, whether they'll truly adapt like Legend of Zelda, like Super Mario, and most recently Super Smash Bros. 2019 will be considered by many fans as Pokemon's most important year, and it will show whether they will truly evolve. So yeah, that's gonna be all there is to it for this video. I hope you all managed to find enjoyment out of it, and I'm genuinely curious to know your personal thoughts on all of this and what you think will hold for Generation 8 as well as the future of Pokemon in general. So if possible, please do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll be more than happy to engage in discussion with each and every single one of you. As always, please do leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you're new, and only if you want to see more of yours truly. This is the Uzigunner signing out. Thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you all next time. Push!